So Indiana FeVeR head coach Stephanie White herself did not travel with the team to Chicago, which leads people to believe that she might not be there for the game. Okay, so first of all, we do not know why Stephanie White is going to be out. It is officially listed as personal reasons, and I don't know if you guys are aware, but back in October, she also was dealing with a tragedy, assuming it might have been like a close passing of someone to her, which was also around the time that she was in contention for being named head coach of the Indiana FeVeR. So that was probably a whirlwind of a time for Stephanie White. And first and foremost, we just want to make sure that she is doing okay and wishing her all the best, because it is not very common for a coach to miss a game. I don't think it happened once last season. It has not happened this season. Oh wait, it actually did happen, because Becky Hammon from the Las Vegas Aces was actually suspended for a couple of games due to the lawsuit situation with Dearica Hamby. But what does this mean for the Indiana FeVeR? What does this mean for the upcoming game in Chicago? And who will be stepping into this role? It is pretty obvious that the assistant coach, Austin Kelly, will be stepping it up, as will the other. I think everybody in the assistants rung will be just like stepping up one more step to take on more responsibilities. Steph White actually talked to Chloe Peterson and said, "My staff is so good and trusting in them that if I need to be away for a period of time, it's status quo. Our team knows that. They have a great respect for them, and I know that, and I trust them implicitly. So it gives even more peace of mind." So who is Austin Kelly? Austin Kelly and Steph White have been working together. He was on the Connecticut Sun last season, as well as in 2023. Assistant coaches are kind of like the right hand to the head coaches. And just reading Austin Kelly's bio from the Indiana FeVeR's website, it talks about how he was with the Connecticut Sun from 2023 and 2024, and helped guide the team to the WNBA semifinals both seasons. Previously, he was an assistant coach and recruiting coordinator at the University of Texas Arlington women's basketball team from 2021 to 2023 when he went to the Connecticut Sun. And he actually has a lot of experience working with Steph White, as he was the director of recruiting with the women's basketball team at Vanderbilt, where she was from 2019 to 2021. So I would feel like he kind of understands the direction of maybe the strategy that Steph White has for the team. But I gotta say, this might be a good chance for the team to kind of start, without a head coach, it is, kind of up in the air. But the way that they played in the last game was a lot more intuitive. There was a lot more of the read and react, like step in and like do what is natural to you, like Ari McDonald, not being familiar with all of the plays, running the point. The Indiana FeVeR looked so much better than they have in the previous games. And there's a lot of development, but I think that it's also attributed to Ari McDonald just coming in and like doing what she thinks is best, reading what's going on around her, and being the defensive little demon that she was. An example of assistant coaches that actually like transfer over to head coaching positions is Natalie Nakase. As last season, she was the assistant coach to Becky Hammon over at the Aces, and she was promoted as a head coach to the Golden State Valkyries. The difference between Austin and Nakase is that Natalie Nakase has had previous head coaching experience overseas, so her stepping into this head coaching role isn't as much of a uncomfortable position as it might be for Austin Kelly. But in addition to Austin Kelly, the coaching staff includes Brianne January, who also has previous experience with Steph White, and Karima Christmas Kelly, who is married to Austin Kelly. And Christmas Kelly was with the FeVeR for 2 years prior, so she does have an idea of maybe the team versus the White strategy. So there might be a lot of, commingling and interacting and collaborating that way. And they have been incorporating Caitlin Clark into a lot of the coaching philosophies and strategies. She's even been like taking notes on the side. I have no idea what about, but Caitlin actually did speak on her experience on the sidelines, because she never really has since she's been a teenager, really been sidelined for as long and been able to view the court from such a different lens.
Yeah, I think it's a unique perspective, when you're out there playing and actually in the heat of the moment, you don't always realize everything. You don't always see everything. You see things from a different perspective that maybe the coaching staff didn't see. So it's certainly different. So I'm trying to, kind of be that connector between the coaches and then my teammates at the same time, whether, that's in the locker room at halftime, whether that's during timeouts of, things I see from the bench that maybe might be a little bit different of a perspective than maybe our point guard is seeing or, anybody on the floor is seeing. But yeah, I think it's taught me a lot. I've never been in that position before of like actually getting to watch from the bench for an extended period of time.
So none of this is set in stone yet. She just did not travel with the team to Chicago. If she is able to make the game, she is going to have to be traveling on her own. Now, Chicago is only 3 hours from Indianapolis, or it's like a 1-hour flight. But of course, for whatever Steph White is going through, I wish her well. I am actually really curious, though, if Caitlin does kind of step into a bit of a coaching role, like from a player's perspective, and if they trust her enough to make certain decisions, or she's not going to make any decisions necessarily. It's not actually decisions as much as it would be influence. But it is just kind of crazy with how much adversity from like the get-go that the Indiana Fever are going through, with like the first preseason game with Caitlin Clark having to be sidelined, everyone having to kind of like step it up, and possibly playing in that Iowa game too early because she would never miss the Iowa game. This is like her homecoming, which potentially led to an easier strain in her quad and another muscle in her quad, which led to her going out, which led to a crazy coaching scramble and crazy like re-strategizing of what the team should be doing without her. And then Sydney Colson goes out with an injury. And then in the same game, their backup to the backup point guard, Sophie Cunningham, goes out with an injury. And the adversity against their whistle alone is just another notch in that belt. But it is just kind of crazy, like how much adversity this team is going through with like injuries and now the head coach being out. I mean, this Indiana team is on quite the uphill battle at the moment. But the bright side to all of this is, barring the severity of what Steph White's personal reasons are, there really are only a few more games of whatever this is going on. There really are only a few more games of hopefully Caitlin Clark being out. She had mentioned that she might be able to step in the Atlanta game, which is the game right after this Chicago game tomorrow. But I personally don't see that happening. I think if anything, she might be stepping in for the New York Liberty game on the 14th. But then, right around then, Demirs Dantas is going out for the Euro Cup, and so they are going to be one very important stretch big down. And Aari McDonald has been a breath of fresh airy, I guess. I literally just thought about that right now because I was going to say a breath of fresh air, and then all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, airy. But really, my brain works in puns like so often. I kind of wish that my gift were something other than that, though. Anyway, back to basketball. So I am very curious about what the Indiana Fever's next steps are going to be when Demirs Dantas goes out, because everybody is talking about potentially waiving a certain player on the roster, maybe a Bree Turner, who is on an unprotected $85K contract, to bring in Aari McDonald to be that really like resilient, reliable backup point guard for Caitlin Clark, which, by the way, if that were the case, I would definitely give this Caitlin Clark off-ball experiment another try, because there are just too many upsides to keeping Aari McDonald at this point in time. But with Indiana Fever going down a big, I don't know if they are willing to risk cutting Turner. I mean, that would leave them with Michaela Timpson, that would leave them with Natasha Howard, that would leave them with Duana Bonner, and of course, their star big Aaliyah Boston. But say someone does go out with an injury, then, they'd be scrambling for another like big. And a backup center was definitely something I was thinking after the roster construction had happened in, I think it was like February or something. I was thinking, I wonder if like a backup center is something that the Indiana Fever should be thinking about. But, Demirs Dantas was that backup center. But Demirs Dantas, like, her bread and butter is being able to stretch the floor and shoot behind the arc, which for somebody like her size is not very common. But bullying through the paint isn't necessarily Demirs Dantas' specialty, although she does have a really smooth fadeaway. All in all, things will be worked out one way or another. Most of the adversity is only a few games long, and I can't wait to see what the next steps for the Indiana Fever are, and also wishing Stephanie White well.